Hello, class, and welcome to week 16 and topic one. And there will just be one topic this week. I wanted to do a the wrap up of the course. As the syllabus says for the week 16, it's a summary discussion of the topics for the semester. Since you're going to be doing that, and since the summary discussion is what the final exam has turned out to be, and by the way, many of you have probably seen that by now. I've posted the final exam exercise on this site. But and so since you'll be doing the review of the topics for selling and negotiating, I thought I'd finish up the discussion, tie together some loose ends that we started maybe several weeks ago, and with some summary ideas. And by the way, I will like to say again, as I've said before, I hope that this week finds you and your families well and safe from the coronavirus, and that you continue to enjoy good health and stay well, and are able to finish the semester and get going with your work, your careers, and work for the summer or more school, whatever you're going to undertake, that you are able to start off with all that and continue that in good health. The topic I'd like to talk about here to finish up is that changes are underway in selling, and even more so in how we think about selling. And we saw a lot of these, and none of this is totally new. We've talked about some of these topics as we went through the semester, but I think they're worth mentioning again, that there's a lot of change underway. And of course, when we started this semester, we didn't really know what was about this coronavirus. I think we heard stories about the coronavirus and how it's impacting other countries, but we certainly didn't know how quickly and how severely it would be impacting us. So kind of going through a few of the slides and comparing the new and the old way of thinking to a new way of thinking. The old way of thinking and selling is we looked at it so much, and it was looked at so much as just a business transaction. Clearly that, just taking a product to a customer, collecting the money, and hoping that the product worked well, and moving on to another customer. We now know that the way selling have come to look at selling is that it's a way to solve problems. It's solutions to people's problems. And there I've posted a little circle of 5 points of a problem-solving exercise, starting with identifying the problem, developing alternatives, selecting alternatives, implementing the alternative, and then finding out whether it worked or not. And if it did, great. And if it didn't, continue to identify the problem until we have a solution. I think we see now that has replaced a lot of what we used to think about in selling, when it was just a matter of completing a transaction, to clearly now, this is one thing I maybe hope that you've gotten out of the course this semester, is that it is fundamentally a way to solve problems. And if you look at it that way, you'll be successful not only in sales, but in new product development and working in other parts of the business organization that you will be involved in your careers. Another way, just looking at the old and the new, is that in the old way of looking at things, that the person-to-person was the main touch point, and that the new method, the new way, is many touch points. Well, going back to the old method, there, person-to-person as the main touch point. That is that the personal selling was done usually by one person. And it's kind of interesting that we no longer, and you might realize that from your textbook, the word personal selling, which not many years ago was the way we talked about selling. It's not pretty much used anymore. The word selling has replaced personal selling. Um, and along with that, we have, instead of just that one connecting point, that one touch point between the seller and the buyer, we have many touch points. And what this particular slide is showing there is different ways that the seller and the buyer are connecting. It's still, they're not face to face, but they are making a connection. The buyer is getting information. The seller is providing information that may help with solving the problem that the customer has. It may be through webinars, which are very popular, which many companies are using, and which many salespeople are developing on their own and providing those out to prospects. So we have there in that particular slide where we see the webinar. We see a email, a TV monitor, a screen, computer monitor with piled up letters and symbolizing emails. Another way that we see, we have another touch point, which has replaced that old single person-to-person main touch point. And then we have in the to the right of the new slide, the many touch points slide, that is a webcast. That is a salesperson having a webcast, much like Zoom, much like FaceTime connection with a customer. So we're seeing many touch points, and of course, person to person may be one of those, but it's one of many now instead of the only one. Old way of looking at things was one size fits all, and as we see there in the old system, we realize that one size fits all fits no one. New way is individualization. In the old way, if I was a salesperson, I would approach my customer with my solution, which was the machine, the product, the service that fit all, and proposing that fit all customers. And so you, as my customer, why don't you consider this? The new way is individualization, and again, that starts with, as you might have guessed, that starts with finding out what the problem is that the customer needs to have solved. And it's only then that you can really individualize. And you also understand that it's unlikely that a one-size-fits-all solution has probably never fit all of your problems, solved your problems, and or anybody else's. So that's the old school. The new school. The new school is find out what the problem is, find an individualized solution for that problem. Brands, I think, are undergoing a lot of change, and again, here we're looking at some well-known brands in the left, showing Cliff Bars there, and showing recent. It's probably a product that's been around maybe 15 years or so. Tide has been around many years, but they're well-known brands. On the right side of the slide, we're seeing that we're seeing a brand of a nutrition bar that's Kirkland, which is of course Costco's brand. And next to that is the Kirkland brand of laundry detergent. And those would both be examples of private brands, Costco's private brand, of course. It's also we refer to that as blanket brands because we're using a brand name there. Costco is using the Kirkland name for a food product and a laundry detergent product. And they also use it in some of their wearing apparel products and some of their tools and many other products. So that is something new in the area of brands, and we're seeing more of that. The reason I wanted to mention that is that we're seeing less of the brands on the left there. We're seeing when new products are coming out, they're less likely to be a well-known brand. They're more likely to be either a private brand And we might refer to it as an unknown brand if it's something that's new to us, or it might be in the form of a blanket brand. Some other changes that are underway with brands, and you might recall, I'm going to quote for a few here if I can show you the book. I brought this into class a couple of times and talked about a couple of the examples earlier in the semester when we were still meeting face to face. And the book is really about the brands. It's how Dollar Shave Club, Warby Parker, and other disruptors are remaking what we buy. And a lot of that is they're remaking what we buy in the sense of what we're calling these direct-to-consumer brands. The direct-to-consumer brands are coming more frequently. Direct-to-consumer means that there's the intermediary has been removed. Not only the wholesaler, but also the retailer, and the products are sold for the most part directly to the consumer. And again, so Dollar Shave Club would be an example with their razors, Warby Parker with their glasses and glasses frames and sunglasses. Chewy, which is has become a well-known direct-to-consumer dog food product, those are all examples, as are a number of Amazon.com brands. And they're using Amazon.com. Amazon is for some of their brand names, and they have some other brand names that they are using for some of the products. But the point is, these are direct-to-consumer brands. This is new. This is a new trend that you will probably be seeing more of. That's why I wanted to mention it to you. Brand loyalty is declining. In years past, in the old world, if you want to use those words, a popular mass market brand was well established. It was hard to bring out to compete with one of those brands. It still is to some extent in some areas. Dollar Shave Club, Harry's, and some other razors have now carved out some parts of the market for themselves, but Gillette still has a big chunk of the shaving blade market. But the newcomers, when we talk about what's new and brands that are coming out, they tend to be these direct-to-consumer brands. Brand loyalty has been replaced by comparison shopping and online reviews. They're taking the place of brand importance. In years past, a brand was a sign that, so we would see a brand that's been on the market for a long time. We would quickly make the assumption, well, it's been around a long time. It'll probably be around for a long time. They must be doing something right, or they wouldn't have been around this long. Now, what we're finding is that the consumers are they're taking their time to look at online reviews, do some comparison shopping. All this is done online. And this, in a sense, is allowing us to find what new brands we may want to try. We no longer have to stick with the well-established brands, because we now have the information. We now have access to information that will help us make those brand choice decisions. One area that will be we'll be seeing some changes in the selling area is in the packaging area, and as you will notice, practically all these examples that I'm showing here are consumer product types of brands, not the kind that you really think of as a person selling, but I'm using these because they are familiar names, familiar examples, and we can extrapolate those ideas to where you can use those in your future and to products that you're selling that might be insurance, that might be financial services, that might be real estate that you might be selling. The words, the concepts are basically the same regardless of the kinds of products that we're talking about. I chose to use some well-known products because we know more about them and can make kind of grab hopefully we can discuss the concepts and you can grasp the concept quicker with familiar brands. Packaging and labeling in the past, especially with self-service merchandising, was very important. There was a box of Bisquick there. You see the nutrition facts. If we could look at the back of the box, we might see some recipes there. We would see that the packaging was, in a sense, a silent salesperson. It needed to be. And you see this, you see this in the grocery store. You walk down the aisle, you'll see shoppers reading the nutrition facts, reading the recipes, reading the labels, looking for information, and that's great, and that's what it was designed to do. But what we're seeing some changes in that particular area, and I think it may have some implications for other products as well, from a selling standpoint. Additional purposes of packaging in the online area, for online shopping, includes a variety of products and quantities that we've never seen before. We're seeing more products and more of them in quantities that we hadn't seen before. So a lot of that is, of course, due to a lot of this might be traced to the impact of the coronavirus has had on packaging. And I think as we go to this, the final slide, this was an article from Wall Street Journal. I'd like to quote a little bit from the Saturday Sunday edition, April 4th and 5th of this year. The owner of a New York City supermarket chain owns a total of 34 stores throughout Manhattan. And of course, we know that that's been one of the hard-hit areas with the coronavirus. His take on what's been going on there now is, some of his quotes, is that he sees that there will be a new generation of packaging. So that's interesting from one standpoint, in a sense that packaging is a business-to-business type of a product. There are many packaging companies that are now gearing up to find what is the new packaging that companies are now needing or going to be requesting because of a change in our behavior as consumers. Our behavior is changing in terms of maybe new packaging we're going to demand on products such as you would find in the New York supermarket. The owner said that people won't be touching the produce so much. They won't be touching it at all. The mood will demand that everything be clean and untouched. And he said that I think the people's mood will be very important for us in everything we do. And so I think that's something to keep in mind. You may not end up as working in the supermarket or having anything to do with produce products, fruits and vegetables, but you may, in a sense, be helping this New York supermarket owner solve the problem. Remember, it's all about problem solving. Solve the problem of now trying to help consumers by providing the products that they're accustomed to, now providing them that are safely packaged and packaged differently. This is no small task. If you want to, I suppose one area, if you're kind of really wide open as to the career path you might want to choose, I think something you might consider is at least look into is packaging. Not only is it the needs of packaging changing because of what we're doing now, so many now products that are being sold online, and shipping products and putting products by your front door, and curbside delivery of product, or curbside loading in of product into customers' cars. This in a sense is requiring a new look at packaging, a new look at the way products are packaged. You get into some very specific problems that when it comes into this particular one, the New York supermarket owner was mentioning, is that people won't be touching the produce so much or touching it at all. If we look back, if you think back to the last slide that showed some strawberries being being packaged in their regular carton that or a little basket that you're familiar. You see them, you're familiar seeing them in that, wrapped in some sort of a saran wrap type of a plastic wrapping. Something you need to consider that all food products cannot be wrapped with that kind of a plastic sheeting, because the produce product needs to breathe. It's a living part of a plant. This is requiring new and taking us into some new territory as to what packaging is going to be in the produce department. Let's assume that we're going to have everything packaged in the produce department of the supermarket, all the fruits and all the vegetables, rather than having them loose that you can pick up and touch, and people aren't going to be wanting to do that anymore. You can be very sure that there is not yet one particular packaging product that can take care of all of the needs of all those individual fruit and vegetable items. They're part of nature. They will have to be handled in very unique ways that have yet to be determined. So there is a lot. Every time there's some major changes that happen in our society, in our world, in our economy, we have to look to see what's the impact on business, how will consumers react to that. Probably in my lifetime, there hasn't been anything as major, as much of an impact, as much of a change as this coronavirus that we're all dealing with now. We're all dealing with it. You're dealing with it in many ways, protecting yourself from it, protecting your families from it, trying to figure out how you will navigate your way through the job market among all these changes in business closings and so forth. And it's one more challenge that we have to face. But you will be facing these. You will, as business graduates, will be going to work solving problems of other consumers. You'll have many of these problems yourself, but you'll also be out there trying to help businesses and consumers solve their problems. And this is going to require new ways of thinking about things, new ways of thinking about brands, new ways of thinking about packaging, new ways of thinking about distribution, new ways of arranging retail stores, new ways of advertising online, since so much more is likely to be bought and sold in the online marketplaces. So there's a lot of change going on, and these were a few topics today that I wanted to talk with you about. And with that, I will end in this particular topic. So, I'll see you soon, and I'll post another topic next week around the time that you're taking the exam. And I do want to remind you that if you have questions about the exam, what do I mean by this or that idea in the write-up for the final exam, don't forget, send an email. Send a text or make a cell phone call. So anyway, maybe we'll meet again soon. If not, wish you all good luck in your careers, and wish you all good luck in wrapping up this semester.